It's story time, motherfuckers. Today I want to tell you the story of my first fight. I was 15 at the time and I wasn't really a small boy, I never really was, so I'd never been picked on. But one day I was walking home from school and I got hit with several snowballs from behind. I turned around and there was Edric, the school asshole. He and his friend had been waiting for me or whatever, but as when I was walking, they threw snowballs and hit me in the back of the head. But when I turned around and started walking towards them, I was pretty pissed off. They ran away like the little pussies that they were. I didn't think much of it, but I was ready to meet Edric the next day in school and tell him what I thought of what he did. Well, I mean, beat the shit out of him. The next day at school, I saw Edric in the hall, and I walked up to him and I said, Why? Why the fuck do you hit me with a snowball? He says, because you are a pussy who studies too hard. Now, of course, this did not make me feel too good, and by feel too good I mean it made me pissed off, because I like to get to the good grades, because I didn't want to live in this small little town anymore. That's why I moved to America. So when he says I'm a pussy that studies, it shows he has no brains. But I'm not going to sit there and try and debate with an idiot, so I punched him in the face right there. Of course, he being the real pussy in the situation, he fell to the ground, he's grabbing his nose, oh it hurts, it hurts. And his friend who's standing there, do not know this boy's name, he jumps on top of me, and we go to the ground, and we're rolling on the floor, and we're wrestling, and it's difficult. And finally I get on top of him. At this point I'm just pounding him in his face. And I'm just like, you motherfucker, you don't beat me up. And I'm beating him. And then all of a sudden, Edric is standing up and he grabs me and he pulls me off this other boy. And then we're on the floor, we're fighting, we're scuffling. The whole thing lasted a minute at most. You know, because all the school children around us in the halls are standing around us screaming, fight, fight, fight. And then, of course, some teachers, they come and they break up the fight. And they take me, Edric, and his friend to the principal's office. But in our school, we had a rule, especially among the boys. I don't know about the girls, but the boys had the rule. You never rat out to the principal. You never say shit to him. Even if you got shanked in the shower, which is really extreme prison reference from America. You know, even if you got jumped and you got beat up by 5 guys, you don't go to the principal and say, these 5 guys beat me up. No, no, no. You take your shit and you deal with it outside of school on your own terms. You fucking beat them up, you do whatever you got to do, but you don't let principals settle worries for you. So me and Edric and the friend, we sat there in the principal's office for about 30 minutes as he's questioning us, asking us why we fight, why would you fight, why would you do this, it's not good for the school, you were going to be punished, one of you talk up, who started it, and none of us talked, because we live by this code. So finally we're told to go back to school, and we go back to our classrooms, and we're just, you know, little cuts and bruises. Edric had a bloody nose from when I punched him right at the beginning. It was a good solid punch to the face. And so we're sitting there in school and I'm getting all hyped all day long. I'm like, we're gonna do this, we're gonna get out of school and we're gonna fucking fight and it's going to be awesome. And that's the way I think. Like, I'm not an aggressive person, really. Like, I'm not just gonna walk down the street and be like, yo motherfucker, I don't like your shirt, let me beat you up. But if you insult me, if you call me a pussy because I like to study and get good grades, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm getting hype. I'm just sitting in my chair all day long, like, let's go, let's do this. And I kinda see Edric, and I'm like, he doesn't look too good. He doesn't look like he wants to fight me again, because I kind of beat him up. He's like, I don't want to do this again. So finally school ends, and I get outside as fast as I can, because I know Edric is gonna try and sneak away. Because that's the way he wants to deal with it. He wants to sneak away. He wants to try and avoid me until I forget about this or something. So I ran outside and I stood right outside in front of the school and I'm looking and I'm like, is Edric trying to sneak out? And then I see him. He's inside a group of about 10 other students. They're all talking, chatting, whatever you do after you get out of school. And they start walking away, but I notice Edric in the middle of them. So I started following the group of children. I didn't want to, like, call him out in front of the school because the teachers would just break it up again and we'd get suspended and have to do lots of extra homework or something. But finally, the group breaks up and about 6 of them walk down this side alley that goes to, I don't know, their houses or something. And I come up behind them and Edric's there and I say, hey motherfucker Edric, we're gonna fight right now, we're gonna finish this. And at this point, most people in my town, if you call somebody out, they're going to man up, they're gonna come and the fight is on. You can't call someone out and then not fight. So me and Adric, we started going at it. We're punching, we're kicking, we're on the ground wrestling all over the place. The other students that were there, about 6 of them, they kind of formed a circle around us, and we're just fighting for about five minutes or so. I don't know how long it lasted, but it lasted for about 5 minutes. And then finally, Adric gave up. He just lay there, in the cold street in the snow. There's blood on the ground. He's beaten up, clothes torn, bruises everywhere, cuts. I got a cut open lip, and I'm just standing over him. I'm like, fuck you. You do not call me a pussy. And I walk home. That is how I dealt with shit back then. That was my first fight. I was 15, and in my first fight, I beat the shit out of this guy because I was in good condition, good physical condition back then. But of course, when I got home, my mother gave me shit because I'd torn up clothes, I had a cut lip, I had bruises and scratches everywhere, and she's like, "What are you doing? Who you fighting? Who beat you up? What's going on? What are you doing? What did you do?" So of course, she goes down to the school can't tell her anything. She just says, they just tell her I got in a fight with another student, but they don't know who started it because nobody was talking. So she comes home, she's like, "You're grounded for a week. You do not fight people. That is not the way we deal with things. But fuck you, bitch, because that's how I deal with things." That was my first fight. My name is Sergey, and this was story time, motherfuckers.